Hey, buddy, watch this.
Hello, Regis Gilman is the name, and Hearthstone is the game, and I have a very big Hearthstone news update today. The Hearthstone folks just posted some major developments across the board when it comes to Hearthstone, including some new cards that are going to be added to the game. So this post on the Hearthstone blog called Hearthstone in the Works. We're going to walk through this piece by piece, but first I'm actually going to go ahead and skip to the new cards being added to Hearthstone. That's right, new classic cards being added. And here's the logic, right? They have moved some cards to the Hall of Fame, but they want to make sure that each class has an equal representation of cards in the classic set. So they're adding 4 new cards in the next month to Hearthstone. And those are Icicle for Mage, 2 mana spell, deal 2 damage to a minion. If it's frozen, you draw a card. Tome of Intellect for Mage, add a random mage spell to your hand for 1 mana. Call of the Void for Warlock, add a random demon to your hand for 1 mana. And Pilfer for Rogue, 1 mana yet again, add a random card to your hand from your opponent's class. So you'll note a theme here for most of these, just 1 mana sort of cycle cards that add a random element to your hand. I'm not going to go into great detail reviewing each of these in this video. I'm actually going to review them in a future video, but frankly, I think they all have some degree of playability. Icicle looks the toughest to me because it's going to be less exciting to hit something that's already frozen to get that card draw. Deal 2 for 2 makes it kind of just worse than Frostbolt. Maybe some Tempo Mage decks could run it, but I think it seems awkward. The other 3 you could flex into a handful of different styles of play, and they'd be okay. Not the most exciting cards in the world, but serviceable, and that's good, by the way. I think you don't want these to be super strong. You just want them to be fun, interesting base set cards, because they're going to theoretically be around forever now in the classic set, so you don't want them to be crazy overpowered. Pilfer does look to be the strongest, though, because Rogue has a lot of ways to use 1 mana stuff, and they do go into detail here describing exactly what they were thinking about here. Straightforward while creating exciting moments. Give players a chance to see cards they don't own. They certainly achieve that very well, and I think that's a good design philosophy as well. And they say, you know, aren't so powerful that they limit future design. I certainly agree there. I don't think these are that at all. So all in all, pretty well designed set of stuff to put into the classic set, and I like that Blizzard's going back to fill in those gaps. I do think that's cool. Plus, of course, just getting new cards that we've just not in the middle of an expansion. That's cool. Like, non-expansion new cards is something we don't ever see, so that's super fun and fantastic, and it's going to be cool playing these, even if they're not, like, you know, deck defining or meta reshaping. It's still going to be cool to try these out. So again, stay tuned for a future video for detailed card reviews on those, but there are also a few other things mentioned here that I want to walk through, not just the new cards. The state of the meta, Blizzard basically says here they're pretty happy with how the meta is shaping up right now. A lot of classes are playable. Even Shaman and Priest, which are probably seen as weaker versions, have playable decks. I don't know why they don't even mention even Shaman here. It's kind of weird. They talk about Evolve Shaman and Combo Priest seeing success, but even Shaman is also a really viable, not to mention Shudderwalks. It's odd that they didn't include the Shaman decks up here where they talk about like the most popular decks. They kind of assume Shaman is bad. I think Priest is really the one kind of left out deck or class right now. They also talk about the potential for nerfs and cards to watch that might be problematic, and the only one they bring up right now is Giggling Inventor, and I think that's right. Most Boomsday Project cards feel pretty balanced. Giggling's the only one that's being played a ton, and they said, you know what, even though Giggling is very popular, we think that's okay. We like having neutral taunts that are getting the job done. I think they say cards that fulfill this role need to be strong to get the job done, but there's a line where they might be too good, so they're keeping an eye on Giggling Inventor, but not yet nerfing it. And I think that's probably okay. It's only feels really bad in decks like Quest Rogue, and that's not really Giggling Inventor's fault. That's probably Quest Rogue's fault. So to me, as strong as it is, it's not bad. If you did nerf it, I think I'd just move it to 6 mana and call it a day. They also talk here about wild balance, because some people are frustrated with wild right now, particularly things like Aviana Kun for Druid opening up all kinds of ridiculous combo opportunities. I'll let you read this in detail, but essentially they want Wild to be distinct and play differently and uniquely and have a certain power level, and they don't want to put the reins on Wild too much because they think they'll limit what makes it be wild and fun and awesome, but that they do recognize some decks are still problematic. So essentially, they want to hear your opinions about what you want from Wild, and I guess they'll use that to determine how they move forward, how they nerf cards, how they address Wild format balance. To me, this feels a bit like a cop-out statement, almost like they don't really have an answer for Wild right now. They don't have a strategy, and this just kind of buys them time. It makes it look like they're paying attention and asking without really necessarily committing to anything. So to me, this just looks like give us 6 months and we'll figure it out later, which is probably not what Wild predominant players want to hear right now, I'd say. So I think this will be mostly a disappointing response for Wild format people right now. And then we already talked about the new classic cards, so we'll move on to new player experience improvements. And this is really cool. I like this a lot. They've essentially added 25 extra ranks to Hearthstone, and they only become relevant if you're a new player. So once you rank out of these 25 extra ranks, you never see them again. So you just start at rank 50 as a chicken. You got some flowers and mushrooms and stars and frogs and goofy little icons that I like. The innkeeper there at rank 26 is funny. I like these icons. I'd like to have the graphics for these, but I'm sure that'll be hard to find. But anyway, this separates new players into a separate pool from normal players. Because how it works right now is sometimes a new rank 25 player will queue up and they'll play somebody who hasn't been in the game in a few months but still has insane cards or tons of dust or great deck, and they just get steamrolled. And that is really super unfortunate. So that's, you know, a bad new player experience, and they're hoping that this, putting them in a separate pool, will make sure they're playing people at their skill level and deck level, so on and so forth, so that it's a little bit more fun and fair. And I think that's a great idea. The new player experience in Hearthstone right now, not very favorable. It's hard to get people into the game, so this should be a very, very good change. Also, they do specify you can skip this if you want. So if you're coming into a new account or building out a second account or moving over to EU or whatever it is, and you know the game well, you can skip this and jump right in, which is also a great thing to note and do. Moving on, they also talk about tournaments. And the long story short here is that tournaments are no longer coming. We've been talking about tournaments for a long time. They promised them this summer. Since summer ends in 2 days, I guess they felt a little pressured here, Blizzard, to announce something about tournaments. And for now, that is a nothing announcement. They're just on hold. They want to figure out the best way to do it, so on and so forth. Basically, just some PR speak here. I think tournaments aren't ready. They don't want to do tournaments, so they're pulling the tournament rug out from under us. No tournaments on the way, which to me, very unfortunate. That sucks. I've been excited about tournaments for a long time. I wanted to host community tournaments with you guys. This would have made it 10 times easier to do that. Right now, it's really, really hard to run tournaments outside of the client of Hearthstone. So client tournaments were going to be my saving grace there. And that's just unequivocally bad news. There's nothing good about this. Just tournaments aren't coming. That's unfortunate, right? I think most of us would have had a mediocre tournament experience over zero tournament experience. I think it's sad that they say they're going to go perfect it, frankly. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think that's the direction they want to go for Hearthstone. So I suspect we're probably not going to see tournaments at least in a few years at this point. It seems like that's just way down the road for them, unless Artifact, you know, lights a fire under Hearthstone's dev team and they decide to do all kinds of cool stuff. I think that one's just not coming anytime soon. Now, Fireside Gatherings, I gotta be totally honest, I didn't even read this yet, so it sounds like there's just some cool stuff coming to Fireside Gatherings and Brawls. They'll have a whole menu of Brawls to choose from to offer their attendees. That sounds great. For people who do this, this is going to be an awesome change. There's a lot of people there putting a ton of work into Fireside Gatherings and Brawls, and a lot of people having fun with that experience, so any support that gets, I'm good for it. That's good. I think that all helps Hearthstone grow. They talk about esports a little bit here, just getting the next big event promoted, essentially. All that's great. Hearthstone esports are good. You should watch them. And then finally, I think the coolest, or no, not finally, there's a couple things left, but one cool thing is the return of the Welcome Bundle. You guys may remember the Welcome Bundle before. You got 10 packs and a guaranteed class legendary for, I think it was only $5. It's coming back, but this time instead of getting a random class legendary, you get one of a random 6 neutral dragons here. We've got the dragon aspects essentially, plus Onyxia kind of tossed in there. And you get one of these for free and alongside 10 packs for $5. That's an insanely good deal. And you can buy this even if you bought the previous welcome bundle. So still going to be good for me and everybody else out there just to get some extra dust at a very efficient cost. And frankly, most of these cards are good. So you're going to have a low chance of whiffing. Maybe Nozdormu, Onyxia, don't feel great. Deathwing, nah. But Malygos, Alexstraszi, Ysera, really good. So 50-50 chance of getting a very strong meta-relevant card right off the bat. And then truly, finally, there's a new event coming up, the Hallow's End event, starting on October 17th. We're going to have some fun, crazy stuff with a dual class arena. You guys may remember this from last year where your arena class is dressed up in different costumes. You got the base cards and a hero power of different classes fused together. So you see here Mage with Warlock's hero power, for instance. That could create some fun new styles of play and some cool opportunities. Also, you are now going to be able to get a new Paladin hero who is a part of a special deal available for purchase, Sir Anoyo. I'm not excited about this. As you can probably see on screen, he looks very annoying. I don't know why Paladins are the Annoyatron class, but this is the derpiest looking hero in Hearthstone by far. I'm sure it's going to be the favorite amongst trolls. So I can't wait for all the odd Paladin players to now have Sir Anoyo as their hero. The good news is they do have to spend money on it, so they'll be at least a little punished if they want to utilize this one. So I don't think we'll see it too often in games. But I'm sure it's going to be annoying when we do. I mean, hey, it's cute. It's funny. It's not my style. I like a little bit more serious Hearthstone in some ways. But it matches up with what they're doing with all the silly Annoyatron stuff. So I think it's fine. It's okay. It's not something I'm going to buy. I haven't bought any of the alternate heroes. But for people out there who like it, it's a nice little bonus. It helps support the game. Monetize the game outside the card packs is probably good so that card packs and all that stuff can be cheaper and we can get them more often for free. So all of that said, my goodness, that's a lot of cool stuff. Great news. The Hallow's End event is awesome. The welcome bundles, amazing. Fireside gatherings are cool. The new player experience is fantastic. The new cards are awesome. Really, the downsides here are wild balance, I would argue, and the tournament mode getting scrapped. Those kind of suck. But frankly, more good news than bad is a good sign. So as far as I'm concerned, great update here for Hearthstone in the works. I'm really excited in particular about those new cards. That said, if you guys have thoughts, questions, comments, anything at all to share on this update, I am curious what your reaction to this is. What do you think was good? What do you think was bad? I can't wait to hear your take on all of it. But until then, thank you so very much for watching, and until next time, game on.